and the like.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's we're not really making any money. We're not out to make money, really.
Yeah,
We've sort of said, like you said before, we're just we're doing it for our own amusement and having a chat with friends and new and interested people and annoying the community by, kind of introducing them to other weird and wonderful people.
And I see you live.
Yeah, we are. And sometimes, I mean, there's been a few times where, according to kind of the numbers on kind of at the top of the screen on StreamYard, we've got like one listener, and that'll be the fact that Jamie's got the channel open on one of his other screens.
Because this is really weird. Because there's quite a few times when I've had it open on the other screen. Like I always have it open on the other screen for the comments, and just so I can comment as me and not as the podcast. But it'll come up saying that we've got 0 people watching live. I'm like, well, me there, I'm watching it live,
and I've got it open as well.
Incidentally, Matt, I just put it out there. If you do accidentally call me Chris at some point tonight, I won't be offended because I realise there is a very
You've got the beard and the green t-shirt.
Yeah, the beard, the green t-shirt, and the no hair kind of thing. So.
So am I Gary? Yeah. Or Scott.
No, with your grey hair, I'd say you're closer to Tom.
Definitely not northern enough to be Gary.
This is very true. This is very true.
At least I am, northerner-ish still.
If any listeners are a bit confused about that, go and listen or watch Technical Difficulties.
Yeah. It's definitely worth watching rather than listening.
YouTube.com/techdiff.
I know. I listened to the earlier ones that were out on podcast. I am
less proud of that content.
I almost dug out Trivial Pursuit. You're lucky. Yeah.
It is getting on 10 years old, those podcasts, and it really was us just making cock jokes for our own amusement, and it just so happened people that actually listened to it.
I mean, welcome to Maker's Waffle. That is exactly what we do. I mean, in fairness, that is the thing with Technical Difficulties is it does then send you down that rabbit hole of the slippery slope of looking at then helicopter connectors on your channel, which of course I was like, oh, yeah, clicking.
That one had a surprising amount of people watching that, actually, because it's who cares? Like, I just documented that because
for your own amusement, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and my career is as an engineer, as a broadcast engineer, and I've had to record in helicopters before, and it's very hard to work out what the way to do it is and get good high quality audio out of it. So I put that out there for the next broadcast engineer to make their Googling slightly easier.
I couldn't remember. Did you put a lot of links to like RS and CPC for
for the parts? Yeah.
Yeah.
I put a link to the circuit diagram off the website. I found so many different aviation connectors, though. That's the thing. You've got your normal headphone connector, but the
bog standard 3.5mm mini jack. We set it off already.
It would be 1/4 inch. Or the XLR.
Oh, you wouldn't get XLR in a helicopter.
No, more, I'd have thought 1/4 inch rather than would be 3.5.
Yeah, I suppose.
It's got to be something chunky. Generally, chunky and easy to locate into a hole. Hole location is important, particularly if you're trying to concentrate on other things.
Doing it without taking your eyes off the. I was going to say off the wheel, but off the things you might play into, kind of thing.
Hello, Ellen. I've just seen a comment from you. Yeah, you've got a normal, big fat headphone connector.
Yeah, so that's 1/4 inch, isn't it?
1/4 inch jack compared to the
3.5.
3.5mm jack. And then
you just love it when you mixing units.
I know. Fine, we've got a 3.5mm jack. We've got the 6.35mm jack, and then you got the helicopter connector. And That is a chonk.
Yeah.
None of them are compatible. They all look very similar. And then you get the helicopter connectors that look like this, but are also completely different, which I no longer have in this bag of crap.
David just put in the chat, if your helicopter's got a wheel, you're at a carnival.
Carnival, yeah. Entirely fair, Dave.
I was gonna say playground. That's why I'd look back and pause.
Unless
It could be a playground as well.
it could be a cargo helicopter, and you could be carrying a wheel of cheese.
Just the one in a full, something like a
that
Chinook.
fills the entire Chinook. Yeah. Did you know that Baby Bell? You get mini Baby Bells.
Yeah.
Well, they're a small version of a Baby
Big
Bell.
bell. Yeah.
It's the small version of a Baby Bell.
Yeah.
And then you get a bell, which I think is about a foot wide. I've never seen a bell. I would like to see a bell.
I've seen pictures. See, when I was a student, we used to get the Baby Bell. You used to take the wax off and then kind of throw the wax at the ceiling. See if it would stick.
You're supposed to throw it at the back of the back of someone's head, surely. So
that'd be rude.
Back in the mid-90s, there was a TV show on CBBC called Bitzer, and they did one episode. They were out in Amsterdam, I think, and they made a swing bridge, but using the wax from Baby Bells as the counterweights for the flippy uppy swing bridge.
I'm surprised I haven't seen that program.
Stuck in my head. My dad was involved in with the theme music and like a 3-minute challenge music and stuff. So
cool.
Yeah, the fun of enjoying it as a kid.
It's 91 to 96.
Because the other kind of possibilities, if you're going for like one of the world record breaking kind of wheels of cheese, so you've got to use the Chinook to actually carry it.
Or one of those,
but like underslung rather than
yes,
yeah. I was gonna say like you get the big massive cargo copters where it's just the little tiny kind of skeletal frame of the thing, massive rotors.
Oh, the Sikorsky ones,
yeah, the sky cranes and stuff, yeah.
You know you're going too far on your cheese journey when you've got a beluga plane coming to the or like the Super Guppy, one of the ones that's just a ridiculous shape to fit something very specific in it.
Oh yeah, but when because the Super Guppy's front opens up, isn't it? So
yeah,
how many wheels of cheese could you get? What's the kind of, if you were to look at like the standard
are we going
scale
for quantity?
Of cheese?
Are we going for quantity? Or are we going for size of individual cheese though?
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're getting a normal delivery of lots of cheese, you just use multiple planes. But if you have one big cheese that requires the Super Guppy, then you get the fancy plane as well.
But now at this point, are we doing this for the planes or for the cheese or for a bit of both?
I would have to say I'd be doing it for the planes primarily, and then depending on the cheese, if it was a beluga cargo capacity sized mozzarella or a a burrata, like the sloshy cheese.
Something that tips the plane when it lands.
Yeah.
Or not just a big tub of cottage cheese, just to lower the tone.
No.
With or without pineapple, though.
Oh, crikey, that's a blast to the past.
Yeah. Sorry, are we in the 80s again?
I was going to say,
is
that still possible?
I quite like the
we're going
cottage
to
cheese
crack
with
out
pineapple chunks.
Are we going to crack out a Rivita with it as well?
Only if we can then get the fondue set out.
Oh. Is your pineapple on sticks?
Yeah, after the fondue, and the prawn cocktail and the
and a strawberry
Black Forest
blancmange.
Gatto. Or some Angel Delight.
What's Scotch Angel Delight?
Ooh.
So you know the little battery operated coffee whisk things for doing the froth milk. They are amazing for doing Angel Delight because of the rate that they whisk the milk up. If you whisk the Angel Delight with those, it's pretty much set by the time you take the whisk out.
I've got one of those
instant.
I found it half price. So I got one of those. I've forgotten the bloody word. Velvetizer. A hotel chocolate
Yes.
velvetizer, which, for those who aren't aware of it, it is effectively the electric device equivalent of a pan on a hob with a whisk. But this is a non-stick appliance, which
It's an
has...
indulgence, Matt. That's what it is.
It is entirely a non-stick appliance that you put a spinny thing in, and that is magnetically spun by something that's in the base.
Heated magnetic stirrer, basically.
It is a magnetic stirrer in a heated pot. Yes. It's a hot plate with a magnetic stirrer, designed for making hot chocolate with. But
I bet that was first nicked from a chemistry lab, though.
Oh, it's absolutely chemistry equipment, but with a high price tag.
A fancy plastic outer.
And I was just thought if you could put Angel Delight in one of them, but they don't go. You don't want hot Angel Delight. That would just be a milkshake or hot chocolate that sets when it reaches your stomach.
Oh yeah, because if you used warm milk in an Angel Delight, would it stay really runny? But then would it suddenly just thicken as it
like
cools?
be like a chocolate fondant, not fondant.
Amusingly, with all this talk of cheese, I am actually lactose intolerant, and I've tried making Angel Delight out of fake milk. I probably tried almond or oat milk, and it doesn't set.
Interesting. I wonder.
Because it doesn't have the casein.
Yeah. So I figured it must be a chemical reason.
Yeah.
I just wonder if you could use maybe because especially with oat milk, like normal oat milk versus what they call the barista blend.
Yeah.
That has different stuff in it. It's kind of a different chemical composition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
I'm in the same boat, to be honest. It's all cheese. I do like cheese, but can't eat most of it nowadays.
Yeah, I found. We're going into middle-aged conversation territory here. But I found seasonally Tesco will, and if you're feeling splashy enough Waitrose, either of them will sometimes do lactose-free mozzarella.
Yes.
Oh.
Sainsbury's too. Yeah.
But it all seems to be irregular. There is it's never in the same place. I find it and I'll buy a couple when I go back next time. It won't be there. Not that I constantly eat mozzarella or anything. But...
Now here's a question though: Are you okay with buffalo only mozzarella?
I don't know. I haven't had it in sufficient quantity to tempt fate.
Yeah, because I haven't had it for a while, but buffalo mozzarella I was okay with.
But so have you known about your lactose intolerant or your lactose malabsorption for a long time?
Yeah.
Or so this might have potentially prompted your other side project to kind of gently skirt around that very quickly.
I have for maybe 15 years known that I'm at the very least gluten and lactose intolerant. It turns out I've got IBS, so I basically can eat anything and have problems with it. But I knew all of this when I started Will It Soft Serve, because I thought it was funny. And yes, I ate quite a lot of ice cream around that period of time, but none of it went on camera because I was putting everything except ice cream in the ice cream machine for that, which meant I didn't have so much of a problem with the lactose in it.
Well, that was what I was thinking. Is perhaps that was perfect excuse to buy the machine for kind of the quest to get decent.
I tell you what,
lactose free.
The amount of people that have gone, I might get an ice cream machine, in like the comments to that or to me in person. As soon as you do start doing the research for that, you go, oh God, they're expensive. And then when you find one that's like mine wasn't second hand, it wasn't third hand, it was about 75th hand. Because I got it off eBay, off someone else who'd got it off eBay, off someone else who'd got it off eBay, like that kind of chain.
Was it one of those things where it's missing a tube?
No, it was surprisingly well kept, and they had spares with it as well. And it was an old retired couple that had it in their garage for when their grandkids came around so they could make ice cream for them in the summer, and it was just taking up too much room. And that's the second problem. It's massive. Because the ones you get in like a Pizza Hut or a Nando's or whatever are about yay big. They're, you know,
Yeah.
1.5 foot high by 1 foot wide by 2 foot long. Those are the small ones. And second hand, they start at about $3,000. This one weighed more than me, and I am a large man. It weighed about 130 kilos. It took 4 of us to lift it into my kitchen. And it was about 1 meter long, nearly 1 meter tall, and 0.5 meter wide. That's right, I'm switching between metric and imperial.
May as well.
Hey, we're British. Why not?
Yeah.
We can.
And living in London, I don't exactly have well, where I was living then, I didn't exactly have the largest kitchen, and it took up an entire side. Which is why in those videos you'll see I'm actually kind of standing awkwardly in the corner to film it.
Ed China did a really cool project making an electric ice cream van. So I'd been exposed to the ice cream machine as a thing before I discovered the Will It Soft Serve. So because it's normally diesel powered off the engine, which is why all ice cream tastes of diesel fumes. So with the switch to doing a fully electric one, he had to design a conversion kit to run it from the electric motor because it didn't exist as a thing. It was just they were all just diesel powered, run off the engine.
Yeah.
So he did a kind of a retrofit conversion, but like a full tear down on how the whole thing worked.
Yeah.
So it's really, you know, kind of like a proper nerdvana moment to go, and then there's another dude putting stuff in it. You know, it's kind of a bit of a jump across, but.
Yeah, it's been about 2 and a bit years now since I stopped doing that. It's about to come up to 3 years since I started it. And I've just remembered another thing about it that was really annoying. Apart from the cleaning took forever because it's designed to be clean from having had milky things in it, not oily things in it. And oil off things, when it gets oily, takes a while to get off. But the other thing was the heat and the smell. Because it's a freezer, which means it's running a compressor.
Yeah.
Compressors are so loud. They are so hot as well, because it's using a lot of energy. To cool something down, it needs to expel the heat that it's extracting out of it. So that everything that was freezing...
Plus it's doing work itself. Yeah.
And then it's got a stirrer, a beater in it, an auger. And the same output of the compressor is also running a motor with a belt drive and stuff. It's so loud and so hot, and the smell of old gears and belts, mechanical stuff, and it was
mixed
dusty.
Oils and things.
Yeah, it's along with the taste of whatever the hell I'd put in it that week.
I'm getting the impression that you don't miss it at all, Matt.
No, not at all. I stopped when I got bored. I was very glad I managed to make it break even, but it certainly wasn't. You know, I don't do YouTube to make money or anything. We were talking about this before we started. We were doing it all for fun.
You do. I mean, a lot of the things that you do. I mean, obviously, we know you as a maker. I mean, at Maker Central, you're walking around with a Game Boy camera, which is a fantastic piece of making. You've done some, behind your shoulder, we can see the epic frame you built the other week. So obviously very technical making kind of side of things.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff that you do kind of that we see on the internet, or if anyone kind of sort of follows you and looks around and kind of on the internet, some particularly technical difficulties, stuff with Tom Scott, it's clear that you are just having an immense amount of fun in the process.
That's all I aim to do, really. And it's the same with
Rightly
work,
so.
same with life. Like, I've never chased jobs that pay me lots and lots of money. If I wanted to do that, I'd be a software developer, because it vaguely intersects with my skill set, and they need lots of them in London. Well, maybe not at the moment. We're in a recession. But maybe a couple of years ago, starting salary for that was very good, but I would be so bored. I would rather be able to afford to live and do something fun and have spare time to do fun things with. And because YouTube has always been a hobby for me, everything I've done online that you see online, rather than the other, you don't see every part of a person online. Because it's a hobby, every bit you see of me online is me doing something for fun.
Yeah.
Whereas other people, they have it as their job, or they try and use it for educational purposes, which I would like to do, but it's the fine line of doing something for fun and then turning something into a project that turns into work. And I've done a couple of them over the years. Like Will It Soft Surf, I found that funny, and then it stopped being funny, and I realized, oh, this is work. I can just stop by having the advantage of not relying on it for my income.
Yeah,
Tom and I did the same with the park bench. And for those of you who aren't familiar, we
I miss the park bench.
I hear that a lot, and I'm sorry it's not coming back. Tom and we did a video series which was just me and him sat on a park bench talking about a thing for 20-25 minutes, and that was entirely designed to not require editing, because we both happen to be very good at bouncing off each other. We can guide a conversation between the two of us. Alone, both of us are terrible on camera at talking. We can read from a script, we can explain a specific thing, but chat, vloggy stuff, we're both awful at. And if you want to do stuff online and it grow its popularity, it helps if you also show what you're about as a person and have some more chatty stuff. So we kind of did it together. But we did it in such a way that we could make it as minimal for us as possible. So just sit down, chat, be very careful as we're chatting to do it in such a way that it required as little editing as possible, so we can just kind of top and tail it and chuck it online.
I still think my favorite episode of that was going through the list of the purchases from the Amazon referral links.
and that was the thing, that came out kind of accidentally, because Tom was telling me a thing. He said, I just happened to have looked at and seen that it shows what gets bought, not who buys it, but what gets bought in general. And you should see some of the. Wait, this is content. I'll save it. So he printed
Hold that thought.
Yeah, printed out the list and took it to the park, whichever one we were in that time. And we used to batch film them as well, because Tom, from watching his stuff, you should know he's a
very busy guy.
He's an international man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when you've been making videos every week about interesting topics for a decade, you can quite easily have covered everything in your home country. And then when you've got the advantage of, his back catalogue, you get invited to cool places all over the place. So he doesn't spend the most amount of time in the UK and has the freedom to travel and see everything and use that as an excuse to do it. But that also meant we weren't anywhere near each other for a lot of the time. And when he did come back, we would film that together, film a few in a row, and then he'd be gone again, and we realised, just a sec, we're only seeing each other for work, and we're just kind of crapping out these videos, and then we're drained because being happy and on for the camera is draining. I'm not the bounciest man on the internet in real life. I'm quite bouncy, but I'm not like this the whole time. And then we realised, just a sec, what the hell are we doing? And in 2017, we'd done so many things together, because him and I'd gone with him and was helping him with some of the camera operating for some of the cool places around the world he'd gone, because I help him out with cameras, lighting, sound, and that kind of stuff, and he gets me into a cool place like NASA's Mars Control Center. And
yeah, he has. He does go to some cool places.
Yeah, but after all of that, we'd spent so much time together, we were sick of each other, and we basically didn't talk to each other for a year. we'd seen each other occasionally socially, but we didn't hang out just one-on-one for about a year after that. And yeah, we're much better friends now, but we're not forcing ourselves to chat about crap every week
Yeah,
and
I'll
shove
bet.
it online just because the numbers are big.
I mean, that's the only reason why Andy and I have a guest on. Just because we'd get fed up just talking to each other all the time.
Yeah. And it's nice
makes it-
chatting
I
to
think
other people. Yeah.
it just makes it more. I mean, I think we could have, Jamie. I think we could have interesting conversation
Yeah.
every week. For public hearing. Particularly if we just sort of pick a topic or just things that happen during the week. But it's always more interesting to talk to other people and to find out about other people.
Yeah.
It really is.
And if you're trying to come up with something yourself every week for that long, you get stale.
Well, I think that's where the technical difficulties, because it's a kind of like a rehash of the format now, isn't it? For the current incarnation of technical difficulties. I think it's just a wonderful way of doing it. Again, for those who haven't kind of jumped on the bandwagon, do
Shall
so.
I explain the technical difficulties?
Please do. It'd be an honour
Yes. Yeah. Give us the.
It is
the elevator pitch.
4 men who were friends at university who had a student radio show that they did for fun that no one listened to, that a decade later just now happens to be on YouTube and a surprising amount of people watch it. And it was just that gradual thing in between. So we are not making content for the internet per se. We're doing stuff and we happen to be filming it and sharing it. So if I was to design some content, I would not make a thing that was solely for white men. But that's not what this is. It's just 4 of us having fun. And hell, if you want to watch it, you can watch it.
It
So
accidentally
started off-
happened to be filming.
Yeah, and it started off as a student radio show, and then we graduated, and then we made a limited video series where we, tried out video for the first time, and then that turned into a podcast with us playing Trivial Pursuit upside down, in which the answer to a question was read out, and we had to guess what the question was. And we got that idea from sitting in a pub, and in that pub, on the table we sat at were some Trivial Pursuit question cards. So the kind of conversations we have in our content are exactly what we do when we're not on camera, and it's just us finding ourselves hilarious, in all honesty.
And that comes through hugely with the technical ones. With the as fun and wonderful as it is, seeing the adventure that each of you goes on. I'm belly laughs when you just sat there, kind of insulting each other and then preempting the insults that each one of you is going to hurl around the table and stuff. And it is just that kind of like fly on the wall of 4 mates, getting together for one of those rare moments.
It's funny because where the current format came about. So what we're doing at the moment is each one of us goes on a secret adventure that the other 3 don't know about, and then we get together, and our video editor will edit together a video of what we've done, and then we all watch it together and find out what the other did and react to it. So we're basically a reaction video channel, but we're reacting to our own videos, which only one of us has seen it, but we did it in person. We actually haven't seen the edit of it. And the reason we came up with that was the previous things we've been doing. As more and more people watch it, it came dangerously close to making some money. And we are very much, we all have careers. We're not in it for the money, so we thought, well, let's design something else that we can use that money for our own advantage and your entertainment at the same time. We just try and make it break even.
And why the hell not?
And we're all big believers in don't flog a dead horse, finish something while it's on a high. So we've gone through and done many different ideas before. So previously we were playing 2 of these people are lying, in which we all picked a Wikipedia article, threw it into a hat. Tom picked an article title out of a hat, and the 3 remaining ones of us had to all try and convince Tom that we had the correct meaning of that article. whereas two of us were lying and the other one actually knew the truth. And it's very hard to play both on the guessing side of things and on the trying to come up with something instantly side as well.
Yeah, because I suppose that the person telling the truth has to make it sound like it's a lie, and then the two people just fabricating something that sounds plausible.
But if you're trying to tell the truth, the hard bit is remembering what's in that article and being able to summarize it and stay interesting. And even if you are telling the true one, you listen to the other and go, "Oh, that could be the real one," and you forget that you're telling the true one.
I mean that is quite a classic kind of format. I mean, there's been a number of sort of game shows on TV and radio over the years with that kind of somebody's telling the truth and somebody isn't. But it's always funny.
Yeah, and it's had its comparisons with other things because, well, if you look at any format of any kind of panel show, they're all very similar.
Yeah,
and it's they're all just everything is just an excuse to have some fun, chat some shit, and involve fact in it, because all four of us involve fact and interesting things. Some of them involves lies.
It's basically four nerdy mates who know each other far too well to get away with stuff. Yeah,
and one of the reasons we switched to that from Citation Needed, which was our previous one, which when we'd run out of Trivial Pursuit question cards, rather than reading out a Trivial Pursuit answer, Tom would read out a title of a Wikipedia page and we had to guess what happened.
Battle of Fishguard.
The problem with that is that it takes lots of prior research, because you can't just pick any Wikipedia article, because if you press that random button on Wikipedia, so many of them are dull, boring, there is nothing interesting. And to make 25 minutes, half an hour's worth of content out of that, it helps if you've got a good article, which meant three of us would turn up not having done anything in advance. I'd set up the kit, but Tom's had to spend days trying to find articles for us to use, which was a bit unfair, really, on him. And then I think two of these people alone came out of us chatting shit. I'm like, oh, that's funny, let's do that.
A citation needed an audience, didn't it? What was the audience? Where were they kind of just sort of friends, colleagues? Did you kind of have a show, free show, come and watch?
The first show we had with an audience was after the first few series. We'd picked up quite a following by this point, and we thought we could do a live show. And we did a live show in Conway Hall in London, which is near Holborn. And we booked the hall. It had a 400 capacity, I think. And we partly picked that venue because it had a downstairs and a balcony. So if you don't fill the whole thing, everyone could just be downstairs and none the wiser. And we thought, even if we get it, a third full, then it's still going to be fun for everyone involved. We'll have some fun. We'll get a video out of it. And we booked our friend Jay Foreman to do a warm-up act. He's a musical comedian. He also went to the same uni as us, so we know him. We all ended up on YouTube at the same time, basically. And we put the tickets up. I can't remember if they were free or like £2 or something. That was the thing. They might have had a small nominal value to make people actually turn up. Because if you pay nothing for a ticket, you go, nah, it doesn't matter, I won't turn up. Whereas if you pay a couple of quid, well, you've spent some money on it. It certainly wasn't for profit if we make them pay for it. I can't remember, it's years ago now. Either way, 24 hours we sold out.
Wow.
All the tickets gone. And the people had come there from not just all over the UK, people had come from Europe, from Scandinavia, from Belgium. I think someone, well, not specifically coming from Australia, they happened to be in the UK for that date and got a ticket while they were there.
Fantastic.
Pretty mad. So yeah, we did a Citation Needed live from there. And then after Jay Foreman did his set, and then as an encore, we did the Trivia Pursuit question cards after that. And it was
Nice.
mad doing it to an audience, because before then it was just us making ourselves laugh. And from the comments to a thing, you can see people find stuff funny, but having that direct reaction from the audience, when you make a funny joke and people actually laugh and then you have to wait for it to stop, is one hell of a feeling. But
Yeah.
I find it actually funnier because I make bad jokes on purpose because I think it's funny. And there are things that my brain comes up with which I can't stop it coming out with. And when I make one of them that falls flat in front of an audience with the deafening silence, it is absolutely hilarious to me and no one else. And I love it.
I remember it because I'm a big fan of like the dad joke and the really, really terrible joke, or the big, long, meandering story that ends up with that punchline that makes everyone go, ah. And that was like my stepdad kind of, that was his kind of way of doing jokes as well, and my dad's. But I remember a conversation with my stepdad of like, it's very easy to make someone laugh, but to have them in hook, line, and sinker and then groan at you is absolutely what to aim for. And that's stuck with me for the last 20 years then.
So yeah, after the live show, we realized that, okay, people actually will turn up to that. And we had access to the YouTube space, which no longer exists, but that was a studio suite in London, which any YouTuber with more than 10,000 subscribers could use for free. And the amount of time you're allowed to spend in there and the amount of help you'd get with things would go up in a sliding scale depending on the amount of subscribers you had. And they let
So the more successful you are, the more help you can get.
Yes, which I always thought was a bit interesting. And the people that need the help are obviously the people who are in London rather than anywhere else in the...
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, so they have changed their model for this kind of thing now. So they now have the... what they called... I'm going to call it
slightly less obvious that they're going for the more ad revenue you can make for us, the more we will help you make ad revenue for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it was. And there's so much very high tech equipment in there, so I'm sure that's a lovely tax write off for Google. And from an advertising sales point of view, seeing as it was in Google's head office, if you have the the main bigwigs at Coca-Cola who are considering advertising on YouTube rather than on television, if you go and show them this fancy studio, they'll make them more likely to spend money on you. So I understand that side of things, and it's probably more for that side of things than anything else. But either way, we got some good use out of it. They let us book Studio One, which was their big one. We had a set built. Not that it was much of a set, but seeing as we had previously always filmed in a kitchen, we had basically just a brick wall with a window to make it kind of look like we were inside rather than in a void. We filmed in one of their studios, their old studios for a previous series, and we were just like in a blank void, and it looked weird. And then we had 50 seats for an audience, and we let people apply to come. We assumed there'd be at least 10% of people wouldn't turn up, so we said yes to 10% more. Because with anything, like that, especially free things, people have other stuff on.
That's what they do on planes.
And they do it on planes. They do it on TV recordings. They way oversubscribe them. We had about 50 people in the audience for each one. They all came in and to the YouTube space while we're setting up. Then they were let into the studio while we waited around the back. And then we went in, did the show. Did probably 4 recordings in a day. I think we'd do 2 like in an early afternoon slot and then 2 in a late afternoon slot with a break for lunch or dinner. So I think everyone who was there got to see 2 shows on the day. I think there's someone in the comment
Mm.
has been to one. I can't really remember now. They'll probably remember. And then after them, we did a meet and greet. Anyone that wanted to chat to us, have selfies with us, and all that kind of thing. We did a bit of that. Then kicked
Nice.
them out. Went, oh, got some energy back, and then went back in again. And we did them for a few days in a week to get a series out. It's great fun having people to react to, and
Mm.
rather than doing like 6 series in a void of being in my kitchen, Chris's kitchen. And then everything we've done since then has been post-COVID,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
we don't have a free venue to use anymore. YouTube Space was completely free for us to use, and as soon as you start paying for venues and paying for spaces, it adds up.
Yep.
So you'll see in our adventures, we've basically used community halls for it because it's a reasonable space that's available. We generally, with the kitchen stuff, we alternate between doing it in the south and in the north because I'm London based. The other two are based in the north. Tom's nominally London based.
International jet setter. Yeah.
Exactly. And Tom's doing YouTube all over the world is his job, and then the other 3 of us have got careers, so we've got to do it around that and family and other commitments. So it's very, very rare that we can meet up and do it. And when we do, we kind of go into one place, get as many as we can muster in that amount of time, and then eject, have a pint, and then go home, which we do for fun. But that's why you don't get content from us so often, because it's a lot of wrangling to get it done.
Quality over quantity, I think, is the phrase you're looking for there, Matt.
Absolutely, yeah. Not that I would give it too much quality. If you aim for something to look like TV and it doesn't quite look like TV, it looks terrible.
Sounds amazing, though.
But that's why we ended up doing the adventures, because we don't all have to be in the same place at the same time to do all of it. We can all do it individually.
Timescales to suit, yeah.
Yeah. So we've been using a producer, Jacob Truman, who has been on YouTube before himself and is a stand-up comedian. And he gets our lists of what we want to do from each of us and make sure nothing clashes. Because if we all did it ourselves, we'd end up doing very similar things.
Yeah,
because
of course. Yeah.
We are friends because of our similar interests.
Well, I mean, Tom was livid with Gary going and doing the big loud noise, wasn't he?
Yeah. And welding was near the top of my list, and Chris beat him to it. Beat me to it. Even. So it's and then with Tom making content on his other channels as well, it kind of needs to not clash with that, because he's been going on his own adventures with the Tom Scott Plus channel. So he had a production team working on that. Penny Ford, a great production company out of London. So Jacob, who was producing Tech Diff, was in touch with them to make sure there was no clash with that.
Of course.
It's basically, as soon as you try and do something more than just sitting in a living room or doing some remote chat like this, it gets very complicated very quickly. But we pull it off, I think. Like I work in the media industry. Tom has ties to the media industry as well, and does video production as his day job. So we get it out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've thought about doing more out and abouty stuff before, but we just couldn't get the logistics to work.
The road trip was good, though. I did enjoy the road trip.
Road trip?
With you and Tom going and driving through all the
the road
funny
trip.
placements.
Yes.
Yeah, the road trip.
Yeah.
Yes, we went from what was it, Pratt's Bottom to Balls Cross?
Something like that, yeah.
That was another thing that came out of a silly conversation. I was bored one day, in the kind of pandemic perineum, where You could go out, but there was still a risk. So we weren't quite, friends weren't quite meeting up all the time, and you weren't going to
Yeah.
large events, but you still could go outside. There's no restrictions. You just want to be careful. I thought, well, I fancy going somewhere, but I don't want to be around people. I don't know. I'll look on a map, see if there's somewhere I can just drive for the hell of it. And I spotted
There is a full map that's got all the road place names in the UK on.
which I
Yeah.
wasn't looking at. I was thinking, oh, well, I've never been around Croydon. I think there's some hills around there. And I looked around there, and I spotted. I don't think it was even Pratt's Bottom. It was something that's somewhere near to it that's got a silly name as well. And I mentioned it to Tom. I texted him and saying, "Do you fancy a road trip?" And we ended up not doing it because we couldn't be asked because it'd be a 2-hour drive or whatever. And then he thought, just a second, we could do that for content.
Hire a car, stick the cameras on, job done.
Yeah. I've done some weird things on the internet.
Haven't we all?
Yeah, and I mean, it just boils back down, isn't it, to just having fun. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, you've got a website called, Is It Easter? Yeah, if people haven't been to it, go and check out Is It Easter?
.co.uk.
It's
I found isitchristmas.com on Christmas Day one year, many years ago, and it just says yes or no. And I thought, has anyone done Is It Easter? And the answer was no. The problem was, is it Easter is a harder question to answer because how do you define it being Easter? Do you mean, is it Easter Sunday? Is it Ash Wednesday? Is it Easter Friday? Is it Good Friday? Is it the days
Is it
in
Easter
between?
holidays a school has?
Yeah. And every year...
Is it when
it's not
chocolate
on
eggs go on sale?
Yeah, absolutely. And
It's not defined by a calendar date.
Exactly, and it changes every year. So, yeah, that was a bit hard. I basically Googled the beginning and end dates of the Easter the first Christian holiday. Was that a Wednesday thing? And then there's a Good Friday, and then there's Easter Sunday. So
Yeah.
the start and end dates being the Wednesday and the Sunday. And I just Googled when they were for the next 5-6 years and wrote them down manually. And I'll probably have to update that at some point. And it just says yes or no.
But there's because obviously there's like I said, there's the Easter, there's the Christmas. But I know there's been a few others that have had similar things. So I remember a few years ago there was the Is Thatcher Dead Yet?
Yes.
Was one that was sort of doing the rounds, and I think there's been quite a few others. I'm sure we had like lots of other similar bits of weirdness. But I just love the simplicity of that, to be able to. It's a question that's the whole website. It's a tenner a year's worth of domain subscription there. That's
if that
well spent.
That's the thing, and the thing I do is if I have a silly idea, as long as it's reasonably affordable and it's not going to harm anyone, I'll just do it. Because whenever you think something, that'd be funny, someone should do that. That someone can be you.
So, little hobby shop in the chat. The two of us sort of conspire on a lot of really silly projects in similar veins, and we've had a couple where we've been, kind of having a chat and a drink on, over Discord, and then one of us has just said some kind of stupid idea, and the next minute, it's like, right, I've just bought the domain. So we've got a few silly projects in the pipelines.
Well, I have similar where I have conversations with people, and then half an hour later I'm on Pi Maroney's website buying random parts to try making a thing.
Paul's got a lot to answer for with that.
Yes, he has.
Company,
Should stop selling such good things.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have to get him on, Jamie, and kind of put that question to him. Yeah, why do you sell such good stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I've asked him that several times.
Do you understand what you're responsible for?
Yeah.
Do you know how much of my money you have?
That's the thing. I just like making things, and I found out the way that I can express this recently. I have no artistic talent. I can be crafty. I have mechanical sensibilities. I can make things. I can learn manual physical skills. I can make technical drawings, but I can't draw for art's sake. I can't design well. I know a few sensibilities. I can make something that looks terrible look better. But it's that idea
That's applying a
generation
rule
bit.
set, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But I can't make something look gorgeous. I am no artist, but I can make things. So the place I struggle is coming up with ideas to do the thing. And anything I make, and what you'll see online from me is either me going, oh, I want this thing, and then me trying to make it. For example, my Game Boy camera Wi-Fi adapter. Nintendo released a camera for the Game Boy in the 90s, and that was my first digital camera. And there is an immense amount of nostalgia I have for it. I have had the same one since 1998. And the one thing I have always been wanting to do since the 90s, when it really wasn't possible, was get the photos off it onto my computer. And I found a way of doing that about 2010, which was very fiddly. And I wanted to be able to do it out and about, because it can only save 30 odd photos. And if I'm out somewhere and I take a photo of it, I want to be able to put it on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah, why the hell not?
So I made a thing to do it. And because the way you do it is with a USB thing and a computer, I put them both in the same box. I've got it here in front of me for those of you watching rather than listening. It is a Raspberry Pi with a USB interface in a box with a battery. And the Raspberry Pi Wi-Fi's it to my phone. So, I learned the bits that I needed to do that, including learning how to design and 3D print stuff for making cases and stuff. And
do I remember right? There's a Hack Space magazine article about it.
I was in one of that company's magazines, but it was the other one, the Magpie. Yeah, there was but there's also a YouTube video, and I get ad revenue from that. So if you want to look that up, go to my YouTube.
I'll make sure I'll link it.
I'll turn off your ad blockers so Matt does get some ad revenue from that.
I do not make a livable wage off YouTube. But yeah, that was a thing that an end goal I wanted to achieve, so I wanted to make it. And then there's other stuff where, me and friends have a silly idea. It'd be cool if that was a thing. That's how things come about. So I would make way more making YouTube videos than I have done in the past if I had more ideas and things to make. And I have no specific desire to go down the route of soliciting, a suggestion
crowdsource
from people.
ideas.
Yeah, and I don't want to go full kids invent stuff, because that would just be adults invent stuff. And I think there are enough things along those lines as formats go at the moment.
A little bit.
If you haven't seen Kids Invent Stuff, by the way, go watch that. That is great. Ruth and
100%.
Sean make things that kids have drawn. They turn a kid's drawing, like a 6 to 10-year-old's drawing, into a real thing. And it's
Case in
not a
point
video
this
made
week.
for kids. It is not a video made for kids. It's a video made featuring kids' ideas. Kids can watch it, but it's still great as an adult.
Yeah,
Very
case in
much
point,
so.
this week's video is phenomenal with making a wearable fire.
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but it's at the top of my to watch list.
It is amazing.
We've had Ruth on a couple of times. We've had Sean on a couple of times.
Yeah.
And we will be having the full team on in a few weeks' time, all being well.
All three, yeah.
Yeah.
Very fun.
Yeah. It's going to be a good chat.
Yeah.
They're good people. Good people.
They are, very much so.
Absolutely.
And that was one of the wonderful things at Maker Central, is just coming over to the booth and just being like wholly welcomed, and just seeing all of that kind of, it was just all smiles in that booth, which was just wonderful. It's just like, it was just hugs and smiles.
And events like that, I've been to. I have a reasonable number of friends who are in the making things sphere, and also in the creator, as in online video creator sphere. So I went to Maker Central last year because loads of people I've chatted to online were going to be there in person, and I just wanted to chat to you all rather than to see the event. The event was all right, but that's not the main reason I was there.
Yeah,
And for the
absolutely.
same reason, I've been to VidCon before and Summer in the City YouTube creator events, which are primarily there for fans to go and get closer to the content
Mm.
and meet some of the people. But as a creator, you can be there with all of these people who have very similar interests and life struggles and things to you, and be in the same room and chat about this kind of stuff that you generally do on your own at home. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
being with like-minded people who do similar things in the same space rather than online. What with all of the amazing things that online chatting and everything and Discord or Zoom or however you chat as a group come together, nothing beats it, the in-person chat, because it just
Yeah, being
loses.
able to give your friends a hug,
Yeah,
and stuff like that is
and like
just
in group conversations online, you can't just split off and have three of you talk about this thing and two of you talk about the other thing. You just have to wait until the boring topic finishes. and and in a physical space like that, you get to meet new people you haven't met before who happen to be there, and a friend, oh, I haven't seen you before. Oh, this is Matt, which is how Andy and I ended up talking in person,
Yeah.
because while we've been in the same online spaces before and probably traded likes and said the odd thing, we hadn't properly chatted together until then.
yeah. I mean, and that's one of the kind of the wonderful things with, like we found with Maker Central specifically, is that kind of, the carnage of the event in the day is one thing, but then the kind of like the evening, groups going out for a meal and then all congregating in hotel bars in the evening, and having those kind of like interpersonal chats and becoming better friends and things has been, so many people have said that's what they now go to those shows for, is that kind of,
It's kind of
the
going
after party as it
from
was.
online acquaintances to friends kind of
Yeah, exactly.
transition, isn't it?
I think it's always been,
Wonderful
to me,
thing.
it's always been a bit of a shame that the sort of the Maker Faire movement didn't really hit the UK to the extent that it did in the US and some of the other places. I mean, we had the Maker Faire up in Newcastle, which I never got to
I was at the one
for a
in
few years.
2010. I was at Maker Faire Newcastle 2010 with the
And there's a few
website.
little mini ones as well, but the atmosphere in those was just. I'm not sure if electric is quite the right word, although in a couple of places it was with sparks and things. But I think just I certainly sort of found it's to me it's very similar to when I've gone to like a university, and in certain parts of a university, in certain universities, I've found that experience where you kind of go in and you can almost feel the kind of the intelligence, and you can feel the kind of ideas just kind of flowing and swirling around, almost like sort of a hidden mist. I mean, I've lucky enough to go and visit CERN once, and to be in the cafeteria at lunchtime at CERN was just like I felt more. I'm sure I walked out with an extra 15 IQ points just having had a salad, just because the place is just so electric with kind of really intelligent people talking about kind of interesting things.
And that's the thing. It's about getting interesting people who are similarly like-minded and not being bellends all in the same place and
100%.
chatting together. Who who are all there to socialize and one thing I love about humans is how everyone has something that they enjoy and they can excitedly share if they're in the right headspace to do so. And the maker fairs or hack spaces, maker spaces, or anything like that provide a reason and a for people to be in the same place at the same time to do that kind of thing. And that's kind of why I've also ended up involved with electromagnetic field festival, which is
That looks so good. It's been on my list
Just
for
had
a
I mean,
while.
there's just been a comment about that in the
has
chat
there?
from Ruta Vegala,
Yeah,
which I hope I pronounced correctly. If I haven't, apologies. And yeah, I mean,
And
just
that's it goes off it's kind of spinning off the idea from the European hacker camp movement. So there are a couple there. There's a Dutch one which changes its name every year. There's the CCC who have their own camp every year. And so EMF was kind of bounced off those ideas because the UK didn't have its own. And what it is, it's a non-profit, volunteer-run camping festival for makers, hackers, scientists, anyone that does interesting things that they want to share. Crafters. You don't have to be a geek or a nerd. Kind of helps sometimes, but it happens every couple of years in a field. Most recently, it's been in a field in Herefordshire.
Eastnall Park, yeah.
Yes, and everyone, if you're camping there, you can have mains power and wired Ethernet to your tent if you want.
That I just love seeing that as a chunk of information, like right on the main page of, tent with full names.
The reason I love it is that it's kind of like a wholesome thing. It's not like hacker camp as in DEF CON where people will go in there to annoy each other and grief each other. It's people there with like-minded ideas who want to share the cool things they made. So there'll be people wandering around with whatever ridiculous things they made. I saw a group of people, I think from Nottingham Hackspace, wearing third-person view VR goggles. So they're wearing VR goggles of a camera behind their head so they can see themselves walking around as if it's third-person view in a video game, like in Tomb Raider or GTA or anything like that. And I've seen people bring like massive things. So Matt Denton's big spider machine, I've forgotten what it's called. They have a hacky racers thing where everyone brings their own crappy little go-karty thing. A lot of them are generally themed. So there's one I've seen a few times that looks like a fire engine. Someone's made a adult-side Little Tikes car and they race them around.
Nice.
And then on top of that, there's 3 stages of talks, which is kind of like a conference, but it's people sharing cool things or how to do this, how to do that. This interesting thing I found. There's normally a blacksmith there, so you can have a go at blacksmithing. And then there's a whole geodesic domes. We all love domes. LEDs, robots, cosplay, tech, ham radios, satellites, as Wouter says. Yeah,
Bunch
a
more,
bit of everything. It has its own pub with the robot arms. And as well as all of that, it's family friendly as well.
Yeah.
So there's a child village, so there's kid friendly activities, there's quiet camping. It's like, I am slightly biased because it was conceived, founded, and is run by my friends and me. I'm part of the organisation committee. I was less active for the most recent one, but in previous years I've been there for the week beforehand, setting up the stages and everything.
I mean, the amount of work to set that up is it's
from helping
unless you're involved or have been involved in something similar, it's almost unreconcilable.
And you look at like a music festival that for a weekend will charge like at least 200 quid for it, and you think, what on earth? Why is it so expensive? Whereas still having EMF from seeing it from the organisational side, I think the last event was about 3,000 people in a field, 3 stages, and with it all being entirely volunteer run, all of the tech staff who were doing the sound for the stages, all of the video streaming, and the some of the catering and the cleaning and other stuff throughout the site, it's all entirely volunteer done by people who turn up on the day and are cajoled into helping for the greater good. And still with that, it is designed to be non-profit and preferably break even so it can be run again. And still, like, the ticket price has to be, over 100 quid, especially in the last few years. Everything's the most recent one in 2022 was quite a struggle to get everything done, and the amount of people working on it that have to basically get no sleep to trying to get it done it's very hard. The events industry is a very expensive place to run things without, like, it has sponsors which pay for it, but it's a hard balance to strike, having sponsors help out with stuff without them having undue influence on content and things
Yeah.
like that, which
Yeah,
is a
big
hard
time,
thing
yeah.
to broach as well.
Well, that's something that a festival that we go to the end of summer every year with family. This most recent one, they did the same thing. They've normally got a capacity of 15,000, and they added an extra 3, just to kind of cover the costs, because it was exactly the same kind of thing of the price of everything just went up.
Yeah.
So to then try and kind of break even without raising the ticket prices another 30% or whatever, it was just.
And
They had
with
to find another
post-COVID
way.
as well, the amount of independent events companies that have gone bust and
Yeah.
combined, and then the amount of events happening at the same time. Like when you can book the venue that you need to be in, if that just happens to clash with when, say, Glastonbury's on and all the portable toilets are all in that area of the country and you can't get any more, and all of the stage hire companies, all of that. It's so much work that goes into running a big event. But it all works out well in the end. It's just it's at the best of everyone running its mental health, I'll be honest. Which is partly why I wasn't I did not have the mental bandwidth to be able to help this year, and some health conditions I was dealing with at the time as well. But if you haven't been and you're not following it, the next event will be in a year and a bit, all being well.
Yeah,
If
2024, wasn't it? I think it's the next one.
and that's
Yeah.
at emfcamp.org.
I think I might have to start squirreling stuff away for that. That will be.
And
We've got a few friends that go as well.
The tickets don't go on sale in one big lump, because stuff that just sells out, it has more people interested in it than can come. And rather than just dump all the tickets out and they've all gone, it all gets released at different times of day over a period. So, there is a chance that you can be available and the ticket be available in your time zone and all of that kind of stuff without missing out. And you can pay more if you can afford it. So then people who are, disadvantaged in any way can get comped tickets or whatever. And the same with all the speakers. They're not paid. But no one is paid who works there. It is entirely voluntary. They'll pay for some. They'll generally get a ticket to get there, or if it's have to go on an undue journey, or they wouldn't be there, or be able to get there otherwise, then there'll be a bit of help with that. But it's all entirely volunteer, and just a lovely place to be.
It's got some good values. It definitely seems that.
When you've got values, generally that's what generally leads to kind of sort of a better culture and a better kind of atmosphere, I think.
And the content isn't just magically decided by a board of people either. It's a call for participation. So anyone who wants to talk can talk. It all goes through a system where it's anonymized and comes down to the title and the description of the talk rather than who submitted it, as well.
Fantastic, yeah.
And we try and make it reasonably accessible with live-ish subtitling and on the stages when the technology is available. And we've had hearing loops and stuff.
Just now got the mental image of having the big scrolling ticker tape. Like you're going up on stage. Okay, we'll just put this on as your live subtitling for anyone watching. Someone must have done that by now, surely.
Yes, my friend Joe Franchetti made that out of a mask, a COVID-style mask, because people who are hard of hearing lip read it a lot.
Of course,
She made a mask with a scrolling LED screen in that. I think she in fact showed that off at EMF amongst other conferences.
Well, there we go. Not all ideas are unique, it seems.
but what is unique is actually doing it. Oh, that'd be a great idea. Someone should make that. Take the leap, make it.
Fine.
Now, I know you normally finish this with some things that have been grabbing interest and stuff.
I was just going to say that sort of a mask thing only is very much an attention type grabbing thing.
So I've had one of those ideas. Oh yeah, let's do it thing that came up this week from chatting with friends, which I don't think I'm going to be able to do. So I may as well share it here. And that's just because it's going to be too expensive to make it practical. I might end up doing it if I can find the resource and the information I need. But so you've got those delivery robots that are in some towns and cities now over America. You get them in Bedford and Milton Keynes and around
Northampton
Hertfordshire
have got
here.
them. And,
Yeah, where it's a little robot cool box with wheels that will drive to you from a shop, and at the shop will put the thing in it and it'll drive to you. And now in some areas in America, they've got drones that will do similar, and they'll deliver you a pizza off a flying drone. And we've got all the other, people do it on bikes and mopeds and cars. Haven't seen it done on boats yet. And I was thinking, you could get like an RC boat to deliver to someone. And then I thought, well, let's see what RC boats you can get. And I could take it to the seaside and deliver fish and chips to people. All of them are built for speed, not for haulage. None of them are built for carrying weight. They're all designed to be on very flat ponds.
And so what you're saying is you need an RC oil tanker type, or like a cargo ship.
Yes, that is big enough to carry like a half-kilo meal and not fall over. And I would love to make that, but looking at just even entry-level little boats, they're about £100 for a kit. And if I wanted to start from scratch to make a thing that could carry a thing, I'd end up having to make some kind of catamaran thing. I don't know much about boats, but I know catamaran-style things with 2 pontoons over a thing are the efficient way of doing it. And then you have your waterproof electronic motors and rudders and remote control stuff. So that's a minimum starting cost of a few £100. Never mind the development time and things sinking. And I've got a 3D printer. I could probably make a floaty hull out of a thing, but that would take forever. I've got a Prism Mini, so it wouldn't be big enough.
A mate of mine's he's done a couple of RC boat hulls and stuff with 3D printing things. So there's stuff out there, but that's startup cost.
Too much effort. Like if I could buy 1 or 2 boats and link them together and carry it, I'd do it straight away. But I think I'd struggle just to carry a can of Coke or a Cornish pasty. Never mind an actual meal.
A lot of fish and chip stuff now comes in the polystyrene kind of lift up, flippy lid things. So maybe all you'd need is just 2 powered pontoons to just kind of stick on the side of that, and that could be like the kind of the skid pan across the water, because that's kind of waterproof enough or at least the bottom would be waterproof enough.
I suppose at least by putting plastics in the ocean, if you put a motor on it, you can get them back rather than floating away to the Antarctic.
But I mean, just changing it slightly. If you're sort of on a beach, delivering some fish and chips to somebody sitting on the beach. What about a hovercraft so that it can actually leave the water?
And I thought that. And Project Air is a YouTube channel by a guy called James, who certainly I chatted to at Maker Central. I don't know if you two got a chance to. He has made a RC hovercraft and made one that's big enough for him to ride. And even with his experience in making remote controlled planes, for years and cars, he still struggled and took many attempts and revisions to get that working. And me with 0 experience in making it on radio control, as much as I would love to, my approach with projects is start them, and if I can't finish them almost immediately, I will get bored of them and they'll never finish. So the Knight Rider video that came out, exactly. The Knight Rider video that came out this week.
Which is very good, it is. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed
that. Stemmed from me seeing a sign for a road called Knight Rider Street in central London, which is next to a place called Knight Rider Court, which has a more visible sign. I thought, well, that just needs lights on it, like Kit from Knight Rider.
A Larson scanner.
Yeah. And I had that idea about a year ago, and I just couldn't think how to do it. I couldn't be asked to do it. And then I found the motivation the other day. I've gone from a 9 to 5 everyday job to freelancing, so I end up with a bit more spare time here and there. And seeing is in many industries, January's a quiet month. I was sat at home bored, and I remembered that, and I thought, I could probably got enough stuff around here to make that with. And I'd recently tidied up a load of my electronic stuff into drawers, and I thought, well, I've got loads of LED addressable tape. I've got an ancient Adafruit Gemma microcontroller, which I'd previously made flashy LED shoes for EMF, in fact. And that's got an 80 tiny microprocessor on it. So, okay, that'll use a tiny amount of battery. If I'm making flashy LEDs, well, they don't use much battery because they're not on most of the time. And okay, so what do I need to do to make this? I've got all the bits. I just need to know how big the sign is and how I want to mount it. So, okay, what time is it? It's like 6 p.m. Oh, we'll just go into London and measure the sign then. Well, that's going to look weird. And I thought, I could either wear a high-vis jacket and probably just blend in, but it's a bit too late to wear a high-vis jacket because you've got to do that between 9 and 5.
Yeah. And you need a clipboard as well.
Yeah, and a hard hat and a ladder. And like, nah, I'll just dress in something that's not particularly visible and just to stand out and just go down there and measure it. So I measured it. It's about 1 meter 10 wide, that sign. I saw another sign nearby to see the construction of the back of it because the one I the one I augmented was on a wall. And I measured up. I saw there was a whole lip on the back of it. I could hang something off. And I got home and I 3D designing a way of hanging it on the sign. And I thought, I could just stick it to the wall with VHB tape. I think I've got some of that laying around somewhere. I don't have to design a thing.
Yeah.
So I Googled for someone else's Larson scanner code because everyone's tried it. There will be a version of it. It'll be quicker for me to find it rather than implement it myself. I was surprised by how long it took me to find one that actually worked. Because everyone does it with whatever library they know how to use.
Yeah.
So a lot of them used ridiculously sized libraries that weren't quite compatible. It was for the wrong programming platform because it was a very specific old board. It needed to be on the Arduino IDE. So I found one that did it. It was an Adafruit tutorial from years ago. It's linked in the description of the YouTube video. So I uploaded that. Got it running on my desk. Okay, I need a thing to hold my LED strip in. I'm thinking, what shall I use for that? Oh, yes, if you're fitting in LED lights in like a rich person's house or like a cinema or a studio where you want to make it look pretty, they make aluminium profile channels with a plastic diffuser top to sandwich it in. I bet Screwfix or Toolstation or B&Q sells something like that. I could probably get one of them within an hour. Like, furiously Googling, like, yes, £7. Not too far away from me. So I drove over there, got one of them, came back. Like, right. Well, I've got the LEDs in that. I can battery power it. I just need something to hold the microcontroller and the battery in it. And I measured it all and 3D printed a box that would fit all of that stuff in. And I've managed to make it reasonably efficient electronically because I wanted it to be able to last for ages. I wasn't going to leave it up there forever. I didn't want to put the effort into making it solar powered because that would take more time. I'd have to order things and I'd get bored, I'd get distracted, it would never happen. And I didn't want to leave it up there anyway because I'd recently read about a marketing campaign in Boston in the mid-2000s where they put LEDs all over the city and it became phoned in as a bomb threat. And okay, that's probably more likely to happen in an American city closer to when 9/11 happened. But there is a reasonable.
I mean, it's still. I mean, London's had its fair share of
exactly, and there are reasons that you would want to suspect the odd random electronics on a wall somewhere. So I respect that, and I don't want to be a nuisance. I don't want to be a mischief. I don't want to cause any damage. So I'll leave it up there. I'll leave it overnight. I'll leave it there for 24 hours and do it in such a way that I won't damage it, and I'll take it down. But it'd be nice if the battery lasted for the whole time. And I measured my circuit, it was drawing 50 milliamps. And the small battery I had was like 3,000 milliamp hours, which means 3,000 milliamp hours
60.
by 50 is 60 hours. That means it could run for 60 hours. The problem is USB battery banks are clever. And when you're charging a phone, you normally pull about 500 milliamps up to 1,500. So if you go below about 100, it means it's finished and it may as well turn off now.
Yep.
And I was half the level it turns off. So you turn it on, it goes, oh, nothing's really using me, and I'll turn off. So it lasted for about 15 seconds and then turned off. And I had already arranged to meet the friend there who was going to film me putting it up when I realized this, like, crap, I've got to somehow make this use way more current. I could put a LiPo battery in here. There was a connector for it on the board. I do not have one of those batteries to hand.
Just bash a resistor in there. That's all you need.
And I thought, all right, I can bash a resistor. I didn't have any resistors. I couldn't find them. I've got some somewhere, but I couldn't find them. I was like, right, how do I draw more current? More LEDs. Modified the code. It was originally using 5 at a time. I made it use 14 at once. Just kept adding more, measuring the current until I got it to about 120 milliamp hours. The batteries don't last very long in the cold. I filmed that a few weeks ago when it was negative temperatures all day. And when we put it up there about 9 p.m, it was about -2 out there, hence the hat and gloves in the video. And overnight, it dropped about -4, -5. So reduced battery life, like the maximum that it could have possibly lasted in ideal conditions, is about 18 hours from 9 p.m, which took it to about midday. But it was cold, so it wasn't going to last anywhere near that. So I went back about midday, and yeah, it was still there, but it was off. But I brought another similarly sized battery and swapped it in and left it there so then people could have some amusement from it.
It was nice seeing the few people, taking the photos, and it obviously twigged and got the joke. But
and I had quite a few comments. Oh, but you should have put a solar panel on it. You should have done this. Like, yes, I could have done that, but that would have taken longer. And like, I just had to do it now.
Yeah, and it would have been
between
more
starting
obvious if you
and
put
doing
solar
it.
panel.
It was 24 hours.
Yeah,
slightly longer, 30 hours. Within 30 hours of going, no, I'll do this.
I do have one gripe with the video though, is because you've got a nice rectangular sign, and then you've got a thing that's basically L-shaped, and you did the battery pack coming down off the side. It's a perfect opportunity to flip it the other way up and nestle it into.
Do you know why that is? I had originally designed it so then the battery and the microcontroller could sit behind the LED strip. And it was getting quite complicated, and it had been a very long print time. And I thought, just a second, the quickest way to get this out without having to wait for a 6-hour print that case was going to take is just wang a box next to it. I'll make it dangle down because gravity's then in my favor, rather than trying to balance something on its end around the side of it. I'll just wang it down, and I can put some sticky on it, and it'll just stay there. Because that's going to look, the whole thing is going to look good at night from a distance. So if I make it a black box, no one's going to be able to see it because the big red scanning light, and it won't matter. Yes, the perfectionist in me wanted it to be invisible, but it was there for 24 hours maximum, way less than that.
I'll let you off,
there for
Matt.
about 18 hours. And yes, yeah, it annoyed me as well. But I am trying these days to be less of a perfectionist and rather, done is better than perfect.
Done is better than,
yes.
Yeah.
If I had put more effort into this, it would never have happened.
I definitely can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Well, that's clearly been grabbing your attention. Anything else been grabbing your attention apart from gorilla making and?
What else?
We've already shouted out Kids Invent Stuff. Is there anyone else you wanted to shine a light on? No?
I was going to, but my mind has gone blank. Well, one YouTuber who I always enjoy watching every week when she releases a video is Laura Kampf. I figure everyone who watches
Yeah.
maker stuff has already come across her, but she has the most amazing ingenuity
Yeah.
with making things, because if she needs a solution, she can go into her hoarded pile of crap and make anything out of it, even if it's the right stuff. Like, yes, I need a hinge. I don't have the right hinge, so I'll make one out of this angled bracket and a random bit of brass I found lying around.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. The video she put out today is a good one. The current sort of series she's on is good. But she's also just been over in the States.
Mm.
So it's quite interesting sort of what's coming out of that, and hopefully there'll be a bit more coming out of it. So must reach out to her and try and get her on.
Yeah.
I've also been watching. I've recently discovered Morley Kurt on YouTube.
Morley,
who's a
Yeah.
Canada-based maker, and I saw he made a video this summer where he basically did a repair cafe. He had some glue and a 3D printer, but put that on a trolley with a big battery and went and took it out in a park. And that's something I'd like to rip off and have a go at doing in London, but London and Toronto have slightly different vibes, and finding a local, nice place to hang out and offer that kind of thing as a service, where you're not going to be in the way because of the tiny streets, or harassed because of the area you're in, or too close to where I live and reveal where I live, and therefore have to transport it. Just makes it a bit too hard for me to try and do that. But I watch
Camden
hours.
on a floating pontoon or something.
Oh yeah, but we've already talked about how putting things on boats is very difficult.
Just go right in the middle of St James's Park. Yeah, you might get a couple of royals pop down. Say,
Yeah.
Could you fix my crown? It's this bit's a bit loose.
I've also been enjoying Emily Hopkins, who is a harpist. She plays the harp, but feeds it all through guitar pedals and does innovative things with it.
Yes, I know what you mean.
She's had some viral success on the socials, so you might have seen her here and there. But it's
follow me.
I enjoy watching people experiment and make, and I'm a big music fan and making fan, so that's basically the kind of thing I watch every week.
It's in the Venn diagram.
Yeah. Jimmy, what about you? What's been grabbing your attention this week?
My loft and networking. Been gearing up. I've gone 10 gig a little bit for the nerds in the group. It's sort of in my officey bit, and then I've got some gig fiber coming in next week. So I've been up in the loft putting a network cab up and getting cables run and things ready in anticipation for that. So that's been mostly taking my attention.
Are you going full extreme and going for enterprise quality networking equipment in your house?
I may already be well and truly entrenched in that. I've got 2 enterprise grade access points already and PoE kit, and
I have also done similar.
Yeah.
I'm going to count that as experience that I can put on my CV.
Yes, exactly. Well, I mean that is my profession as well, so it's kind of it's adding to my home lab. Is my justification.
And it's once you know what the good stuff is, you can't buy the cheap stuff anymore. Like, you know what you're missing out on, don't you? It's like being a broadcast engineer, me here with a proper mic arm and a proper microphone. Like I can't do this half-assed. I just can't help myself.
But the downside is because I also do support, and obviously my friends all know that I do that kind of stuff. So it's that kind of that struggle of like, what do you mean your home grade router doesn't have such a setting or an option, or what do you mean you can't do? I can do that on all this very expensive second-hand enterprise kit that I've got and harvested off eBay over the last few years. Why doesn't normal people stuff have this option? But yeah, fortunately, my friends all know I'm a massive nerd, so it's not too much of a shock when I do that kind of stuff. That's
That's
been
everything.
taking up my attention this week. How about you, Andy? What's been grabbing yours?
Let's have a look. What's grabbing my attention this week? If you remember from last week, for those who listened to last week, I talked about the lathe that my men's shed has acquired. So this week, I signed up for a day's training on wood turning for the guys just a couple of miles away. So that's not going to happen until middle of February, which is a bit of a shame it's not sooner, but yeah, as soon as I can get. So that'll be fun to do that. Also in the men's shed, we're trying to get more sort of space for people to work in the workshop. So I spent most of the session there on Thursday drawing out the workshop and the sort of tools the old-fashioned way on graph paper.
Mm-hmm.
So we can literally cut out the little blocks of graph paper the size of tools and move them around. Which I know it could be done on a computer.
Old school CAD, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Legitimate way to do it, Andy.
And it's something that other people can see at the same time and kind of go, "Oh, what if we move that there, or what if we do this to that?" And yeah, so it's a good way of doing it.
To do it.
And other than that, it's exam marking season again, marking international A levels. So pretty much many hours over the last few days. Look at first of all familiarization marking, then standardization marking, and then actually getting into the marking. So
lots of just click, 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 click.
Yeah, I do quite. It's sort of shameful to say. I do quite like it when students actually kind of haven't written anything in the box. You can just go 0. It makes the hourly rate. I'm not even going to talk about the hourly rate. It is significantly less than minimum wage, but it's good professional development. So it's
penance for something.
Yeah, I've got another week of that, but I'm currently ahead of schedule. The standardization took quite a long time, but then you've got it's not split very evenly. Considering it's physics, it's a bit odd. Yeah, 2 days to do a quarter. Well, technically it was 3 days to do a quarter. Then you get 2 days to do the next quarter. Then another 2 days to do the next quarter. But then you get something like 4 days to do the last quarter. But I'm currently, so I should get the first half finished by the end of Tuesday. I'm on schedule, but I'm at 37%.
Nice.
So I'm ahead of schedule, which is good. So the first quarter finishes in about an hour, or just under an hour. So on board.
Do you have one addition to do for the thing that's been grabbing my attention most recently in the last day or two? Is the orange Toblerone.
Oh,
which is absolutely delightful for those people who like orange and chocolate. I know there are some weirdos who don't, but it's very tasty.
I'm not the biggest fan of orange and chocolate, and Toblerone isn't my favourite chocolate. So, as a combination goes,
yeah, it's a rare treat for me. I saw it, and I've seen a couple of other YouTubers who'd reviewed it, so I was like, I'll give it a try.
I've seen white ones. I've never seen.
It's new.
I've seen dark ones, but I've never seen orange. Interesting.
Yeah, it's got gingery candied orange peel bits in it.
Ooh,
it's good. Too sweet.
Does sound nice.
I did see there's a Nutella-filled Milky Bar. I saw that on Insta Reel, and I haven't seen it in a shop yet, but I'll be buying that, and I'll be eating the whole thing.
Yeah, interesting.
And put up with the consequences later. Yeah.
Coronary heart disease. Oh yeah.
I was just thinking about the amount of lactose that's going to be in it. Yeah.
If his bowel can't hear him, it won't act.
Thank you very much for having me. I realise I've done most of the talking here, so
that is the kind of the point.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Where could obviously we've already mentioned quite a few places, but yeah, where best should we direct people to sort of find you?
At
the stalkers and friends.
I am at Matt Gray S on all the socials, so be it Twitter as long as it exists, or Instagram, TikTok. If there's a social network, I'm at Matt Gray, yes, on it. And on YouTube, if you search for Matt Gray, Mattgray. But my YouTube stuff is split across lots of channels, and because I'm all over the place, the easiest place to find everything of mine is via my website. Everyone else has a link tree, but I've made my own, which is at mattg.co.uk, mattg.co.uk. Wait, I should go full radio advert voice. That's mattg.co.uk. Click now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Terms and
for joining
conditions
us.
apply. I am
You're gonna
not
list all the
regulated by
websites,
the
aren't you?
Financial Conduct Authority. Next week on Maker's Waffle, episode 86.
I'm trying to think who we've got next week. It
I was
might
just trying to remember
be-
that myself.
It's Eric, I think.
Yes, it is.
It is Eric.
It is.
Yeah, we've got
Maker's
Eric
Waffle,
next week.
episode 86 with Eric, I think. Interesting name.
Well, we're going to have to do some sort of edit to just put that into the audio clip for next week.
Free jingles.
.co.uk.
Anytime I get close to a microphone like this, I end up talking like a cheesy DJ. Here's Duran Duran on your
Either that or
best
selling
mix.
Ah, bye, folks. I'm hitting end broadcast.
Yeah.
because I'm
Bye.
retired.